This is my grandfather, and that's my grandmother, and this is Uncle Charlie Jarrel. And that's my father, Ben Jarrel, right up there. I stayed with Granddaddy. See, I followed him around just like a little puppy dog, you know. I stayed with him more than ever I stayed with my daddy when I was growing up. 'Cause Daddy's always gone from home. Granddaddy's there working on the farm. He learned me how to work. And I mean, he is a hard master, too. He didn't never know when to sit down to rest. We had enough to eat, as such as it wasn't no fine stuff. It wasn't steak and ham much. And you could go squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting anytime you wanted to. Along at this time of year, there's plenty of young rabbits, and you can step out here and kill you a mess of rabbits, you know. Fry them up, it's good, them young rabbits, too. I could eat about a whole one right now if I had it. Yonder comes a rabbit skipping through the sand. If that rabbit, he don't mind to fry him in my pan, Lord, to fry him in my pan. Yonder comes a rabbit, just hard as he can run. Yonder come another one, I'm gonna shoot him with a double-barrel gun, shoot him with a double-barrel gun. Rockin' in the weary land, rockin' in the weary land. The big-eyed rabbit's gone, the big-eyed rabbit's gone.
Tommy had a tobacco patch, and they wanted him to work at the sawmill that day, and he wanted to work, but his tobacco needs suckering. So he told me he'd give me $2 if I'd sucker his patch of tobacco over there below our old graveyard. I went over there and I suckered long about 4 o'clock in the evening, and I was kindly lazy and I was kindly tired. So I decided I'd lay down, take me a little nap. About the time I got nearly asleep, I heard my little sister coming with a bucket of water. You know, Mama had sent me some water. Well, I got up and made out like I was suckering tobacco, but I took my drink of water. She come on up, and I suckered about 2 hills. I thought I'll lay back down again when she gets out of sight. And I was a suckering until she got out of sight, and all at once right under my feet was a big old rattlesnake. I never had seen one. Under that hill of tobacco that I was a suckering, and it went to singing. And it was quiet, and it had his head raised, and the last I seen, its mouth was coming at me, but I jumped and run. That snake run me about 10 or 15 rows. It did. It was coming right after me. But my sister Heidi said I didn't run. I just raised up and flew. That's what she said. Said she was going so fast I couldn't see her legs. Looked like she's just up rolling like a wheel, but I guess I was. I never have been scared in my life. It makes me nervous to talk about it now, and I've not had good sense since.
Old Weevil told the farmer, you need no Ford machine. I'll eat a pod hill cotton, can't buy no gasoline. Don't see no water, but I'm about to drown. Can't see no fire, but I'm a burning down. I seen a spider running up and down the wall. He must have been going to get his ashes hauled. I'd been to the mill riding a horse. I had a bushel of meal on the horse, and I got right there just about right close to where I learned to play the banjo. I looked down the road and I saw 2 or 3 Uncle Charlie's kids are coming and running and crying. Well, I looked down there and I could see some smoke. Didn't look right to me. They come on up and I asked them, I said, what's the matter? They said, little Julie. Now, she was named Julie too, you know, but she was younger than my sister Julie. We call one big Julie and one little Julie. That's when we knowed we was talking about them, you know, which one. And by jingles, I just left the horse standing there and run down there. And when I got down there, why, there was little Julie standing there, wasn't just she was burnt from here down. And Aunt Sue was standing there with her hands holding them out like that, and blisters all over them. They'd done blistered time I got there, and the kitchen was afire. So I grabbed a bucket of water and I got out, well, maybe a third of it with that bucket full, and I run to the spring. And I come up there and I told him 3 or 4 buckets, and I put out all the fire. And there she was, you know, she wasn't crying and carrying on like you'd think anybody would. Well, that night or the next night I think she lived about 2 days and nights. They got the doctor up there, and I think he told him there wasn't nothing he could do for her. She was laying there, and she said, Tommy, said, how about playing me Little Maggie on the banjo? Why, I said, Julie, I can't play Little Maggie. She said, yes, you can. It hadn't been around long, but it'd been around long enough I'd learned it. So I got the banjo and I done the best I could. And that satisfied her. She didn't ask me to play no more. But I had about the hardest thing ever I done. I started playing the banjo between 7 and 8 years old. And I played that on up till I was about 13, and I decided then I wanted to play the fiddle like my daddy. And I went to fooling the fiddle, and after I got up 14, 15 years old, well, I'd play maybe for a dance 2 or 3 times a week. They knew about me playing the fiddle, and they was all the time talking about what a good fiddler old man Jack Payne was. Well, I'd never heard him. I was a young fella, you know. I thought my daddy was the best fiddler in the country, Tony Lowe. And, well, one time I decided I'd go up there and hear old man Jack Payne play the fiddle. I went up there, and he was out under an apple tree in the shade. He had him a rope, I guess, as long as me of that poplar tree up yonder, where the horse could just graze all the way around. So I had me a half pint of whiskey that I'd made, and it was really good. And I went on up there, and he was sitting under that apple tree. I said, Mr. Payne, I came up here. I want to hear you play the fiddle. I heard your sister talk so much about you playing the fiddle. I just want to hear you play one. Laura, honey, I don't know fool with the fiddle. I said, well, I said, do you ever take a drink of whiskey? He says, yes, now and then, once in a while. I sip a little bit. And I pulled out that half-pint bottle, and he took him 2 or 3 sips out of it. And then I waited till it sort of acted on him, you know, and I said, now let's go down to the house. I want to see you fiddle. I've heard so much talk about that fiddle, and you playing the fiddle. I want to hear you. I said, how about playing me a tune? He said, you play me a tune. Well, it's kind of satisfying. I sawed off something, Sally Ann, Backstep Cindy, or something, I don't know what. And I handed it to him. I said, now you play me a tune. And right here's the first one he played. This fiddle was in the Civil War, and right there is where a mini bowl hit it. See that there patch place right there? That's the kind of piece of copper he had on there. And I looked at it, and where he'd noted that fiddle, I could see every place where he'd noted, and it was just as bright as any new penny you ever saw. Now, he sold this fiddle to old man Wash Stewart. Wash Stewart handed it down to Casper Stewart, and Casper Stewart sold it to Paul Sutphin about, well, I'll say 4 or 6 months ago or something like that. And that's the story of the fiddle now.
We've got a Stradivarius here, Tommy. And this is, your fiddle's a copy of a Stradivarius,
That's right.
Isn't it? Well, this is a real thing here. This was made in 1699. And Guarnerius, he and Strad didn't get along together well at all. If somebody brought back a fiddle from him that they didn't like, he got so mad at this guy, he beat him up and was thrown in jail. Guarnerius was.
Yeah.
So he used to get drunk all the time and get thrown in jail and whatnot all over the place. But anyway, let's see what you can, if you want to play a tune on that. It's got that same curved bridge, you know.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to play him on one like that. I believe I got too much rhythm on my bow, Mike.
Too much of it?
I
What are you
think.
going to play?
Well, I thought I'd play old Cotton Eye Joe. That's a pretty
let's
old
hear
one,
it. That's a good one.
if I can play it.
All right.
Well, no, I wouldn't swap mine for either one of them to play on. And I don't know as I would for the money. That's $500,000 fiddle. I don't believe I'd swap that for it. I give $10 for that fiddle.
$10?
Yeah, 1915.
There you go.
I wouldn't take 10,000 for it. I'm used to it. I can play on it better than I can anybody's fiddle.
Sure.
And why would I want to trade? How about old Cotton Eye Joe? come from? Where'd you go? Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?